At the Health Equity Evidence Centre, we are proud to share our how to guide to co production in the NHS. And in this video series, we'll hear directly from the authors about what co production really means to them. So, the question that we'll explore today is, can you tell us a bit about how you first got involved in co production? Amy, I'll come to you first.
Thanks, Liam. I ac- I actually find this quite a hard one to answer because I think I started doing something that I suppose was related to co-production before I had really come across the term or had much theoretical understanding of what it was. And I suppose this brings me back a bit to a lot of the conversations we've had as a group around what co-production actually is. Um, and I guess from quite early on, I felt like it was really important to bring patient community perspectives into work that I was doing without an awareness of the theory, the history of co-production of what that was. And it was kind of quite, I suppose it's like, thinking back, it was kind of quite clumsy and it felt quite awkward and often quite difficult, but also an important thing to be it's sort of necessary, I suppose, both from yeah, I'm just trying to unpick it. I suppose both necessary from, I mean, this is quite a heavy word to use, but necessary from a moral perspective, but also kind of necessary just because I didn't, I and colleagues didn't have the knowledge, the answers, the understanding that we needed to sort of do the work that we were trying to do. But yeah, I suppose it's quite loose. I found it quite hard to sort of pinpoint it, I suppose, because I wasn't necessarily framing it in the language that we're framing this work in.
No, I see. And we've started with a tricky question, haven't we? So I wonder whether I could bring in Shabir. And do you have any reflections on the question?
Yeah, I mean, I was thinking about this, and I suppose in the broader sense, we both have been doing co-production for over 20 years because we've been involved in things like tenant involvement in trying to improve housing conditions. It wasn't called co-production, but essentially that's it seems that's what it was. But in terms of health equity co-production, that probably been going on for about 3 years for me, and I was introduced by my wife because she'd already been doing it for a year or so, and she kind of explained what it was. But I went in with a really kind of vague idea what co-production was. I thought it just was answering researchers' questions, and that's it. Just answer their questions and then go home. So I had a very kind of at that time a very naive idea what co-production was.
Okay, I see. So we're hearing Taslim about how you actually got involved, how you got Shabir involved. How did you get involved yourself, Taslim?
Um, I was involved actually by accident because uh, Kay Fryer, she had some, well, somebody posted something about diabetes interviews. So Kay Fryer contacted me if I would be interested. Well, she did interviewed me about the diabetes. And when she finished, she mentioned, oh, I'll be good with a PPI group, which she set up. And at the time, I said I'll join the PPI group, but I didn't know anything about PPI group or research or anything like that. So she said you don't have to. This was in lockdown, so it wasn't face to face. So then she mentioned that just join for the first time online. You don't have to say anything. Just listen to everybody and see how you feel. So I did, and I quite enjoyed it. And I think I even got involved in the first session because I think the group was really welcoming, and the way it was, the way I wouldn't have expected it to be like casual. So, it wasn't like people, you don't understand anything and that. So it wasn't like that. It was just like normal, people like us who suffered from certain conditions and who wanted to get involved in the PPI group to make things better. So that's how I got involved. Um, but we got involved because there wasn't enough men. For some reason, there was always a lot of women, but not men were really interested. So then I thought there were only two men, and they were always complaining that it's only us two. So then that's how I got involved. That's how my husband got involved.
Fantastic. So not only being involved yourself, but also encourage others to get involved too. Fantastic. Thank you for sharing that. And over to you, Lucy. How does this look from your perspective?
I think firstly, it's really interesting to hear everyone's origin stories because I'm not sure I actually had heard all of them. For me, interestingly, so I finished my undergraduate degree and I was back home in Sheffield, kind of trying to decide what I wanted to do with my life, as you do when you're 21, 22. And I did some volunteering for a housing association. And they had a program called Co-Create that they operated, and they let me shadow a few of their sessions, which were co-production sessions with some of their service users. And I thought, wow, this is a really interesting way to do things. And I've got a social science background, so the kind of the methods were familiar to me. And I thought this is a really interesting way for these methods to be actioned, and to have that in academia. I think sometimes it can be quite rare to see impact straight away, but with co-production it's almost that you see it happen instantly, because even that engagement with other people is impactful, like being able to work with people on that equal level is really, really important. So I did this shadowing and this volunteering, and I thought this is something I'm really interested in. Then went off and did all my other studies and came back, and now I'm using it in my postdoc. So this is really actually, I graduated 10 years ago, so this has been a 10-year process for me of learning about it, which I think is makes me feel very old, but is it shows how much I value it because I've seen it in action for a long time now.
No, absolutely. No, and thank you. And thank you all for sharing that. I think there's some really interesting themes in there. There's definitely something about apprehension about getting involved. There's definitely something about not knowing necessarily quite what you're getting involved in. And I think there's also something about feeling that you might need to be an expert in this just to get involved. Whereas actually what we're saying in this group is that that doesn't feel to be the case at all. And we've all come at this from different angles and different backgrounds. And as Lucy, you've just quite rightly said, have gone on a journey when it comes to co-production. And Amy, I'm wondering whether you've got anything to come in on that.
Thanks, Liam. Yeah, I just thought there were a few things that people said that really resonated with me, and that's maybe worth pulling out on top of what you've said. One of which I think, Shabir, when you were talking about seeing it at the beginning as just kind of answering people's questions, and I think that's a really important thing, that move beyond a kind of extractive kind of like you have something that the other person needs and you have to sort of give it to them and then they just take it away and that's the end of it. And I think also just, picking up, Lucy, with what you were saying, I guess about the importance of the process itself in and of itself as being really key to the change. So it's not just about where you get to, but it's actually the work in itself, and that almost like the journey that you go through together through starting to try to do this sort of work that matters a lot.
Yeah, indeed.
Yeah.
I think there's plenty in there that hopefully we'll explore in future videos, and we certainly do explore in the guide itself. So I think on that note, I would just like to say thank you for sharing all of your experiences. And if you're watching and would like to learn more, then you can download your copy of our guide to co-production in the NHS, available freely on our website. Thanks for joining us.